Hi, my name is Steve. Welcome to my STARCRAFT Rebuild channel. Please join me in restoring my 1988 STARCRAFT 221 Offshore Bluewater. This is a 22-foot fiberglass hull manufactured by STARCRAFT Marine. Please hit the subscribe button and press for notifications for upcoming videos. This is going to be a multi-video series on removing and replacing the fiberglass keel and core material. On this project, I'll be rebuilding the keel using 3/4 inch marine plywood and glassing that over with 1700 biaxial cloth and total boat 5-to-1 epoxy system. As you can see, I've already removed the deck, stringers, bulkheads, flotation foam, fuel tank, and right now we're looking at the keel. Engine mounts are out. I've also rebuilt the transom over the past couple months. So you can see that the base of the fuel tank is still in place. I'll be cutting that out. And we've got penetrations where the bulkheads passed over the keel that caused some rot down in this area here. And the back of the keel was open where water could get into that area there, and I think it did a pretty good job on it and rotted it all out. Yeah, first to get started, we're going to need to make sure that the hull is supported. The hull is sitting on a trailer. After I've removed all of the stringers, the hull's still pretty stiff, but it flexes when you walk around on it. So I have installed 4 boat jack stands, 2 tall stands. They're set in the front and 2 in the back. And then I've put in 4 keel supports. Every 3 feet I have the keel support. So you can see right now it's not sitting on the trailer right now. The trailer's just underneath it, and it's supported by the jack stands and that. So I was able to pick up 4 of these jack stands. So I have 2 midship, 1 on the other side, and then along in the back here I've got 2 installed, a port side and 1 on the starboard side, which I have also leveled the boat. I'm using a floor jack to lift that. So I lifted the boat off the trailer, set the jack stand. So you can see I have cement blocks on the floor. Then I built a stack up of 2x4s, shimmed it up to the base of the hull, and I put in a 1/2 inch thick piece of 40 diameter rubber all along. Each stand has a similar setup. And I lifted the hull and set it on there and loaded it up onto the rubber. After setting the keel, you want to go back and just be certain that your jack stands are tight on the side. Give them a little shake on there. I also tie them across the hull together so that they don't slip out. We're all secure there. Here's another view of the keel, looking through the keyhole in the transom. And you can see how it's open to the back of the existing keel where water has ingressed in there and rotted the core material. Tools for this project. I've been through various cutting tools and cutting methods on the program, and I'm finding that a 4.5 inch diameter 11.4 centimeter grinder with a metal cutting disc is going to be tool of choice for this project. Cutting fiberglass really dulls conventional saw blades fast, such as an oscillating tool here. They're really good for small, delicate cutting areas, but the blades dull fairly quickly in like a foot to 30 centimeters. The Sawzall also can do the job. It's best to have 10 to 14 teeth per inch on the blade, and you'll go through the blades relatively quickly, maybe every 2 to 3 feet. Again, the best method is going to be the 4.5 inch grinder. I'm using a Hercules blade. It's a Chicago Electric grinder. Of course, I'm going to be using a hammer, wood chisel, crowbar, and larger crowbar if needed. Before we get started, let's just quickly discuss the safety recommendations. I recommend goggles. These grinding wheels, as you can see, they get very fray at the end and they tend to explode on you. Even with the grinder guard, the wheel parts fly all over the place. Recommend wearing a rubberized glove. You're going to be running a grinder, you're handling fiberglass fibers. They get into you like slivers. Gives you a little protection from the wheel. I did get a wheel nip, as you can see on the end of this glove here, and just a touch on there and you're into your finger. That glove did save me. And recommend wearing the throwaway coverall. I buy one size larger just so it fits me a little bit loose, and I actually can wear them for probably about a month's worth of work. And I wear ear muffs for sound protection. Next, I wear a respirator. Typically I use a 3M or the Gearson paint and body respirator. I find on size, you're going to want to buy a medium. 80% of the users wear a medium. Possibly you wear a large, but you're best to go with the medium size mask. And the filter cartridges are the P100. And that's a particulate filter cartridge. It also has some carbon in it that I think it will absorb some industrial vapors. That is 99.97% efficient. It's similar to a HEPA filter. The P stands for, it's rated for oil mist. You could have an N100 also, R100. And the other alternative is the N95 filter cartridge, and it's 95% efficient. I've been working with the P100s. I think it's a little safer. I use a shop vac to collect the dust. Doesn't get it all, but cuts down on it quite a bit. We've been cutting out this plywood subdeck here that goes below the fuel tank. Now that we got the deck pulled up here, We have access to the keel up to this forward bulkhead that's like midship. We're going to determine how rotted it is. I think it's pretty rotted. There's the piece that I took out has been nailed into the top of the keel in a couple areas right here. Puts a hole in the fiberglass there and allows access for water to seep in. Yeah, so I drilled a 1-inch diameter hole in the top of the keel here. I'm about midship, and I tapped on the outside. It was pretty hollow. So if you stick your finger in there, it's actually very wet and sawdusty. There is some structure left in there, but you can see it comes out like sawdust. So the next step will be to drop a tape measure down from the back and document. There's some different heights of the keel as it comes from the aft forward, and I'll be cutting it out in sections and measuring the height as I go along. So I have that documented and where I need to be to replace it. It just rotted up at the top. The bottom is still pretty solid. It just cracked it a little bit there, but you can see it's not just falling apart. So it's not as bad a shape as it's in bad shape, but I'm going to replace it. But it's still got some integrity to it. So I'm going to cut this out and then take measurements right there and move forward. As you can see, the keel is made out of a solid core, like a pine or something like that. Okay, so I've got it cut out up to the bulkhead. You can see up in the bulkhead, it like doubles in width back in there, and not sure what that is, but beyond the bulkhead, it looks like we had a 2x4 in there. That was it. And the piece I pulled out is totally saturated. Here was the last piece I just pulled out. It's a 2x4. That 5-foot section there, 6-foot section, weighs about 15 pounds. It's totally soaked with water. You can see some of the other pieces of fiberglass I pulled. So. Next guy will cut out the bulkhead here and remove some, I don't know, at least another 3 feet of transom up in front of this. So to remove this bulkhead, you can see how they've stapled. It's got like 5 staples in the top right here. These are going to have to get cut out down below. And I've pre-drilled a hole to get access with my Sawzall. So that's been opened up. And next thing I'm going to do is saw this out here, cut those staples off, and then I'm going to use my grinder down below here and grind that fiberglass seam out of there. Should build a bulkhead right out of there. Okay, the bulkhead is removed, and I've sawed out about another 3 feet of the keel under here and trimmed up the keel that was left in there. That is solid. It's pretty solid. It had, in this area right in front here, there must have been a splice, and it was very, very thick. So they had like a 2x4 in there. And you can see it's not all the way at the bottom down in here. It's up in the air. So I don't know if they had foam or something like that underneath it, but there was a 2x4 with 2 pieces of 1/2-inch plywood, I believe. I can see an impression of it in the. It's rotted out. It was gone, but then it goes back down and it's thin right in that area. So right where the bulkhead was, it was thick. You can see how wide it is in here, and then it thins back up again. So I believe that they just spliced together a joint there. I'm going to splice it in up above it in front of that, epoxy it all up and cover it. Okay, we're all cleaned out all the way up to the front. Underneath that entryway, about 2 feet, and there's a nice stub out piece there. So all this fiberglass needs to be ground down. I'm magnifying it, but we got to get all those edges out of there and make it smooth so that we have good adhesion and minimize the air bubbles that get into the glass that I'm going to lay back up in there. So this is it for episode 1. In episode 1, I finished removing the keel and the bulkhead. In episode 2, I'll be grinding the hull in preparation for an epoxy layup of a new keel, stringers, engine mounts, and bulkheads. You can look below for links to tools and materials used in this episode. I hope to see you again soon.